Hey everyone! I hope that you guys are doing amazing wherever you are in the world. My name is Boom Shikha, and I welcome you to my channel. As always, I'm so grateful that you're listening, subscribing, and commenting. It's kind of interesting because a couple of people asked me why there's a lot of stuff on the ground. So basically, I do yoga on that section, like this section here where you can see all the pillows. There, that one. There. And so I do headstand against that wall. And so I need all of that. I need all those pillows in order to do my yoga, but also I do the headstand against the wall, and the painting was on that wall, so I had to take it down. And I do a headstand every single morning. So I'm like, well, I'm not going to take it down, put it back up. I'm lazy like that. But anyways, that's something that one of you asked, so I thought I'd tell you guys. So in this one, I wanted to speak to you guys about the fear of failure. It's a pretty common fear, obviously. I think the fear of success is also a pretty common thing with people. But in general, this time around, I'm going to speak to you guys about the fear of failure. Not only does it affect INFJs, which is the type that I usually speak about on this channel, but I think it affects every single person on the planet. Most of the time, people who message me asking me how I put so much content out there, the basic idea behind their question is usually I'm afraid to put myself out there because I'm afraid of rejection. I'm afraid that people are going to make fun of me. I'm afraid that people are going to laugh at me. I'm afraid that I'm not good enough. I'm afraid I'm going to put my stuff out there and no one's going to look at it. Same old, over and over again. And I always kind of have the idea that, I've been through that. I used to be exactly like that. I never put my stuff out there. I never even wrote anything, even though I wanted to be a writer. I would just sit there pretending like I was a writer, not having written a single word throughout decades. Well, not decades, but years. And so, I was afraid because I knew as soon as you do the work, as soon as you put it down on paper, you have to start sharing it with the world. And as soon as you share it with the world, that's when you start really getting feedback, right? That's when you're like, all right, cool. The universe is telling me, or the world is telling me I'm not good enough. I need to improve this. I need to do that. Or it'll tell you things like, you are okay, but you need to do this, and that, right? And so all of that feedback, all of that stuff kind of freaks us out as individuals. We're like, oh no, I just want to pretend like I'm perfect. I want to pretend like I'm good enough. I want to pretend like I'm a great writer. If I just pretend like it and I don't actually put anything to paper, if I don't write anything down and I don't put myself out there, then no one can negate that idea in my head. I can just pretend like it is the truth and talk to people about it as if it's the truth and tell people I'm a writer when I've never written anything or published anything. And then in my head, I can pretend and live in this fantasy land where I'm a great writer and people call me all over the world to write things for them. And, I'm on talk shows and people are always asking me to stay over at their house because they love my writing so much. Things like that. And so we can kind of live in our fantasy world until the point where we actually put ourselves out there. Now, of course, I lived in that fantasy world for a long time. And it was great. I would imagine that I was one day I would be a great writer, having not written a single word on paper or on the laptop. It was just the most delusional way of living on the planet. But I did it. It was great. It was great. It was fun, and I did it for a long time, and I felt good about it. Well, partly. But mostly I realized that it was a lie. I was lying to myself. And it's great, we can live in this world and lie to ourselves for a long, long time to come. Eventually, though, the house of cards that we build is going to fall apart because we're going to realize that, no, we're not actually a writer. We haven't written anything in ages, or whatever that story is that you're telling yourself. You're not a musician because you haven't written any music, or you're not an actor because you haven't even gone to any auditions. Or whatever, you're not a painter because you haven't been painted in like decades. So, instead of being like, oh, right, I can have all these stories in my head, eventually you realize I can't anymore. You can't lie to yourself anymore, especially if you start doing a lot of self work and development work and meditation, especially. Because as soon as I started meditating, all the stories that I had in my head, fake, false stories, they just completely fell apart. There was no way for them to be there anymore because meditation really helps you look at the truth. It literally kind of unsmudges everything, takes everything away that is going to allow you to lie to yourself And then all of a sudden you're like, all right, cool. So I guess I can't lie to myself anymore. I have to look at the truth. And the truth is that I'm not doing what I'm saying I want to do. I'm not doing what I want to do. I'm not writing, or I'm not doing what I need to do in order to become a writer. I'm just sitting here and pretending like I'm one, right? And so that's what happened to me, is that, I was like, oh, shoot, right. Okay, I have to start writing now. And so I did. And, you guys know the story probably. I've been writing 1,000 words every single day for about almost 4 years now. But again, I mean, like, this is a journey. So it's not like, all right, cool, I've started writing, so that's it, And then the universe is like, all right, so you write, but you don't edit. And so that's, again, another demon. And I've done a video on this recently. Another demon that you're like, well, I'm not finished yet. I'm a writer, but no one likes my stuff. But that's because I haven't edited it. If I edit it, it's going to be perfect. Everyone's going to love it. Well, then you edit it, and then you realize, that was another lie I was telling myself. Awesome, great. And little by little, you kind of remove these lies, these falsehoods from your mind, and you're able to see the truth of the matter, which is that you're afraid of failure. You are afraid of success. But in this video, I'm going to focus on fear of failure. What does it look like, fear of failure? It's the idea that you are afraid to do anything unless it's going to be an absolute smashing success. And it's kind of funny because you never know if something's going to be an absolute smashing success. I've used this example 1,000 times. My YouTube channel, it's not an absolute smashing success, but it's pretty much a success in my mind in the way I wanted it to be. But I never imagined when I did my first video and posted it that it would be. Actually, in fact, I was like, no one's going to watch it, and no one did. I had, I think, 0 views on the first like 10, 15, 20 videos I did. And I think I had 25 subscribers, people who, I don't know how they found me, but they subscribed. And I had 25 subscribers for a year and a half straight, like no increase or decrease. It just stayed that way. I think it was just like spammy subscribers, people who just subscribe just for the fun of it or the heck of it. Either way, I stuck at that point, but I still kept on doing videos every single day, right? And so that's when I realized is that, sometimes you don't actually know what's going to be a success and what's going to be a failure. You have no idea. You can't predict the future. We think we can. Human beings think that we know what's going to happen in the future. If we really didn't know, we would have actually been like, all right, cool, so we know what's going to happen. But we don't, right? We don't. Like, we might think partly we know, perhaps partly we might know, yes, but mostly we have no idea what's going to happen in the future, especially with creative work, because it's so freaking volatile. And the market is so volatile. You might put something out there and be like, oh my God, this is going to be a smashing success. And it's absolutely a failure. And you have no idea why. People are not reacting to it as you wanted them to. And you put something random out there that you just kind of sketched out in the bathroom while you were in a bath, or while you were on the toilet. Bad imagery, but you know what I'm saying. This is randomly, you just sketch it out and you put it out there, and it was a smashing success and everyone loved it and they wanted to do more of this. And you're like, what is going on here, right? And this happens to me all the time, where I'll put out a video and I'll be like, oh my God, this video is so good. It's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. And I get a few views on it and a few, whatever, it's nice. But then I'll do a random video where I'm like, my hair is a mess and I have no idea what I'm talking about, and I'm angry and I'm venting, and my words are all convoluted and they're stumbling over one another, and I'll do the video and I'll put it out there and everyone loves it. And I'm like, what? You guys like this stuff? So you don't know what's going to be a success. But what we do in our heads is we are like, all right, no, I know this is going to be a failure. I know this is not going to work out. So I'm not going to even put the effort into it because I already know what's going to happen. How do you know? Well, I've just made up this story in my head. So we make up these stories in our head that something's going to be a failure or a success, and we don't even kind of partake in it. We don't even start the process of beginning the creative work, right? And so we're like, oh no, I know I'm going to be a complete failure as a writer, or I'm too afraid to even put myself out there because I don't know who people are going to hate my writing because it's kind of weird and quirky. And so I'm not even going to write. I'm not even going to start the whole process of writing. I'm not even going to put myself out there. I'm not even going to start the whole thing, right? Same thing kind of happens with the relationships as well, or other things. It's not just creative work. We might be like, oh, I really like this person, but I don't think they're exactly like my type, and maybe I'm not their type, and maybe I don't think this relationship will be, I don't think it's a long-term thing. It might just be a few months of joy and then it's going to end. So I guess I'm not even going to try. I'm not even going to go into this relationship because what's the point? I don't want to bother with it because it's going to be a failure. How do you know? You don't know. You just made up the story in your head. Again, stories in our head. We should not be believing them because they're false. There's no basis in truth for them. And so in general, why I wanted to do this video is that if you are dealing with this kind of fear of failure, it literally is the thing that holds people back from living their authentic, true, ideal, awesome life, right? It literally is one of those things, fear of failure and then fear of success. I think those are the two things that hold us back. And fear of failure has a lot to do with perfectionism. We want something to be perfect before we put it out there. We know it's never going to be perfect before we put it out there, so we don't even bother starting to do the work. And it's so funny to me when I think about all of those years I wasted, actually sad, not funny, sad when I think about the fact that I wasted all of those years not writing anything because I was so afraid of putting myself out there, and I was so afraid of even starting the process, and I was so afraid of being a failure. And now I'm putting myself out there every single day, writing. And am I a failure or a success? It doesn't really matter because I'm writing, and that's the most important thing. I don't know. People might hate my stuff, and I've sent it to some people, and they're like, it's nice. It's not that great. But either way, I'm putting myself out there. I'm writing. And this is really seriously the only thing that matters to me right now is to write. I really just want to get all of these stories out of my heart, out of my mind, out of my imagination, and onto paper. I really don't give a rat's ass about anything else. I really just want to do that. And I want you guys to get there as well, where you forget about the failure, forget about the success, forget about the results, forget about all of that stuff, and focus on the process. Focus on the stuff. What do you want to do? You want to write? Then write. Forget about what's going to happen in the future. You don't know. You might be a success. You might be a failure. Who knows? Franz Kafka wrote this beautiful book, The Metamorphosis, and he never put it out there. He never sent it to a publisher because he was so afraid of failure that his family, after he died, put it out there. And he didn't even know that his books are a major success because he died before anything happened with them, right? You don't want to be that person, right? I think that's so sad because his books were amazing. All of his books were amazing. The only one that I read is The Metamorphosis. But he never put himself out there. He never been sent to a publisher because he was so afraid of failing. But his books were great, and he didn't know that. He did not know that because he let his mind tell him stories, false stories. And I don't want you guys to do that anymore if you do it, right? So don't believe the stories in your head. Just put yourself out there. Forget about the results. Just do the thing, whatever you want to do, that your heart desires to do. Success might come, failure might come, neither might come. It doesn't matter. The point is to do the stuff, to write, to create music, to paint, to dance, to do whatever. What is your heart desiring to do? Do it. Forget about the results. They might come, they might not come. You might die before they come. You might be alive when they come. Who knows what will happen? But that's not the point. The point is to do the work. I hope this makes sense. I know I'm really, really passionate about this subject matter. Actually, I'm writing a book, a nonfiction on writing and creative work and all that stuff. And so I'll be putting that out soon as well because I just love this subject so much. I was like, I want to write about it. I really want to put a book out there about it. So stay tuned for that. Again, thank you so much for listening, for watching. I really do appreciate the support. And I hope you're all safe and sound wherever you are in the world. I shall see you guys the next time around. Bye for now.